How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be talking about The Omega Man from 1971, directed by Boris Sagal, starring Charlton Heston, and based on the novel I Am Legend by Richard Matheson. And if you don't know Matheson, he's the guy who did a lot of the famous Twilight Zone episodes and some other cool stories, so definitely check out Richard Matheson. But this is the second out of the 3 times the novel had been adapted, the first being with Vincent Price, The Last Man on Earth, and the third being with Will Smith, which actually kept the novel's name, I Am Legend, the first one that did that. And like all other versions, this stars Norval, a scientist who is the last man in this city. It's really empty. He spends his days going out, exploring, gathering supplies, and when he can, killing the undead, because not only is he the last man alive, but there are some monsters out there, which I suppose I should get into. Most versions of the story, it's zombie-like vampires, but they kind of reinvented them. In this one, it's germ warfare that started the whole thing, and the people that survive, they're kind of like mutants. Their skin turns incredibly pale, and their eyes are all like white and yellow. This makes them really sensitive to light, which is this cool way to reinvent the zombie-like vampires, is they're mutants and they're sensitive to light. And I found it really clever, and because we had already had the Price version, you know, you might as well, if you're doing a different one, try some new ideas out. You know, if they're good ideas, you might as well experiment, I guess. But these versions, the family, they talk a lot more and a lot more coherently than the Price version, and you get to see that they felt betrayed by the old world because it left them in this predicament, and they hate the old world, which is why they're so mad at Charlton Heston. They want to kill him. They see him as the last human, and plus he is attacking their men, and you see that it is the old world versus the new world, and you see why they go after him. It is, you know, from a place of hate, so they're still the bad guys, but you see they're like, this last remnant of the old world, and they have cloaks and sunglasses to protect them from the night, and, you know, you think that wouldn't work, like cloaks and sunglasses, but this is a nice little piece of 70s apocalyptica, so it somehow works. But anyway, another big difference from the Price version is Heston'S Hideout. He's got this house in the city, and Price's house, you always felt, was just one moment away from the zombie-like vampires overrunning and destroying it. You know, he had to go out and get garlic all the time and replace the mirrors and, you know, make sure everything was boarded up, you know, and he had to make sure he was back. He always felt on the edge of breaking, and Heston's house, really well secure. He's got big lights and barbed wire, and everything's nice and fortified, so he feels a little more safe, and this allows his character to be kind of laid back, and he'll walk around and joke like, haha, you know, they're still playing this movie at the cinema after 3 years, you know, stuff like that. And it really leads to a change between the two characters, where Price was always nervous. You get to see Charlton Heston a little more laid back and going, making jokes about the whole thing, you know. So it's a nice change, you know, to not do things exactly the same. And of course, I mean, not really a spoiler because you kind of see it coming. There are, of course, eventually other people in this movie, and I find that with a lot of stuff where the premise is last man or small group of people, whenever they introduce more characters or, you know, make him where he's not the only guy, it usually just, you know, bogs the movie down. It's like, this one concept, and then they changed it. But this group of characters somehow doesn't do that. I think primarily because they are in a bad spot. Everybody's sick and on the verge of maybe turning, except for Heston, who's immune. So there are more characters, but at the same time, each one's in such danger. It's like, okay, I have my friends, but, you know, at any moment, any of them could die. They're in a bad spot, and I have to help them. The thing is, the threat is still there. It doesn't go away with these new people. This is 1971. They made the decision in this movie, the female lead, the love interest, is actually a black lady, which they used to kind of commentate on the times. You know, this was the early 1970s, you know, the battle against racism, you know, they're starting to finally defeat it, and it was a great way to take a time capsule of the time and put it in this movie, you know, kind of the message of, hey, you know, when things all boil down to, you know, no one really cares about, you know, garbage like that anymore. And it was, you know, a cool slice of the times put into this movie. Another thing with this movie, a big difference from the Vincent Price version, is the flashback scene that kind of explains it all. In the Price version, I'd been really digging, you know, the whole Last Man on Earth thing. Then the flashback comes and it takes me into this other story. I'm like, oh, I was just digging the old story. I really like that. And then you have to kind of get on board with this new one, and it lasts for a long time. I like also that in this version, the Charlton Heston one, the flashback is earlier and not near as long. It doesn't take you out of the story as much. Now, I don't know, I'm sure, like the Vincent Price version, really great movie, and I'm sure some people love the whole flashback being a distinct arc, and if you do, you know, leave that in the comments and you can, you know, talk to me. I'm always up for hearing other people's ideas, so I just felt that I liked the present in this story the most, and I like that this version doesn't take you out of that near as much. It's really interesting. But yeah, this one, it really surprised me. I knew I liked the original Last Man on Earth, and it's been a while since I've seen I Am Legend, but I remember that being pretty good. Maybe it won't hold up, I don't know, because I know people criticize that movie nowadays, especially the alternate ending that they didn't go with, but I need to rewatch that sometime. But anyway, this one I hadn't known much about, but it actually really surprised me. This is a really, really good movie. If you want to, you know, do a watch of 70s post-apocalyptic, you know, post-apocalyptica, definitely check this one out. This is way better than I thought it would be, you know, and yeah, it's definitely one to check out, you know. But anyway, I do want to say, though, you know, I've been thinking about the different versions of this movie, and the thing with this, and I don't think it gets talked about as much, is each version of the movie is a good little example of filmmaking at its time, you know. The original Last Man on Earth, it was a, you know, black and white, classic monster movie. This one is the 70s, and this is a post-apocalyptic movie, and then, you know, the I Am Legend, you know, kind of had the vampire, zombie craze of the time, and each one starred a big star of the time, you know, Vincent Price, Charlton Heston, and then Will Smith. And, you know, it's like each time we visit the story, we get a good little scoop of how, you know, post-apocalyptic horror stories were told in that era, you know, and they're all three good movies. So, yeah, I would definitely check it out. This version of the story really blew me away, because, you know, this was the middle one that I didn't know much about and not as many people talked about, but it really deserves more talking about, more attention, and I really love this movie. I'm glad I spent a few extra bucks to buy it on Blu-ray, because they had both, and I was like, I should probably go for the Blu-ray. I'm glad I did. I really like this movie. It definitely has a good place in the collection now. Anyway, I'll be back with more movies soon. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thanks. You really are helping the channel out. I mean, hey, thanks just if you made it this far watching. I think I might have rambled a little bit. But anyway, I'll be back with more movies and TV. Tend to stick to about 95% horror, you know, so I'll be back with more stuff soon. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys again next time. Have a good day.